Start happening. Hello everybody, good evening. Okay, let's get started today's Hindu newspaper analysis. The first article which was, as we already discussed this particular article day before yesterday, USA versus Iran war. USA versus Iran war. Day before yesterday we have discussed Trump announced pause with respect to attack on Iran. So before with respect to that we have discussed before even going to Trump is going to halt the war, Iran put some conditions to stop the war. Today's article also discusses the conditions that is proposed that are proposed by the Iran. So day before yesterday Trump announced that he paused the war, but Iranian authorities mentioned that we are the only one who will end the war. Even USA if ends the war, we will keep attacking the US bases in its neighborhood and also the USA's allies in the Gulf region. That was discussed in the earlier. In fresh attempt, Trump wanted to end the war, but Iran again reiterated the earlier statements by saying that there are some conditions. If you agree all these conditions, then only this particular war will be going to end, otherwise it will be continuing. So there are 5 conditions proposed by the Iran. One is complete halt and complete stop. Complete halt in the war means US should not, US should end the war here itself and there should be no further attacks. And also it said that there should be a concrete agreements which says that there will be no future attacks on Iran. That is the second agreement, second condition. And third, Iran said that US should pay the war damage, damages, war cost, and also it should owe reparations. US should pay war damage and war reparations. As we already discussed, war reparations, will be reimbursed by the countries which are on the losing side. As we discussed in the day before yesterday, during the World War I, the war reparations fell on Germany, right? So if US accepts the war reparations and if we, even if it accepts to pay war damage, it does mean that US is lost this particular war on Iran. And the fourth condition is that USA should accept the sovereignty. USA should accept the sovereignty of the Iran on Strait of Hormuz. Strait of Hormuz. Iran sees Strait of Hormuz is a natural right. So that is fourth condition. And fifth condition is that war should be ended in all fronts, not only physical attack and in terms of missile attack, not all this. It should be ended in all fronts. That is the fifth condition proposed by the Iran. If these conditions are not met, the war will be keep continuing and Iran will be attacking its neighbors especially USA's allies in the neighbor, and also USA's military bases. So this is the current news with respect to Iran versus USA's war, and these talks are ongoing, and very importantly, Pak is mediating between Pakistan is mediating between the USA and Iran. This is the new development, and that is the reason there is an issue in India, especially oppositions mentioned that India's diplomacy, India's foreign policy is failing here, because our neighbor country Pakistan is taking the leadership role in USA's and Iran, but India is failing here. There are also one article was appeared in the first page which talks about it, where Pakistan is taking leadership in terms of diplomacy to halt the war, to end the war, but India is failing. That is also mentioned. Let us discuss that article as well. In that article, especially all party meeting was there. All party meeting was convened. All the members were present. Whenever the all party meeting happens, it is very important that it should be, there should be unity in terms of decisions, because there are, there will be different opinions, there will be different ideologies for different parties, but when it comes to national security, emergency, national emergency, there should be one voice, that is one voice with respect to decisions. So with respect to even in terms of foreign policy, even in terms of internal security, in terms of defense, all these things. Since it is a very important situation where we are facing some energy security, right, and also we are facing international decision making in terms of international relations. So that is why the government led by Narendra Modi so called all party meeting. In that, opposition alleged that the India's foreign policy is failing. So that are the allegations made by the oppositions. But Jaishankar, our external affairs minister, Jaishankar made some remarks with respect to why we should be silent in terms of our international decisions. The way he mentioned that one way is very important, that so we have to maintain some neutral grounds here, should not comment on anything. Why he mentioned that? So USA is our largest trading partner. USA is our largest trading partner in the world, and also Israel is our technological partner. Israel is our technological partner, and also in terms of Iran, he mentioned that we also need to balance the relationship with Iran, which is controlling Strait of Hormuz now. Right, Iran was our old friend. Now it is also one of the friends in the Gulf of Nations. So that is the why reason we need to maintain the balanced relationships among all these countries. So that is why there should be silence, and we should not condemn any country in this particular war. The oppositions were alleging that you should condemn Israel's and US's attack on Iran, and you also condemn the death of Khamenei. That is the reason why oppositions are alleging and also saying that the India's foreign policy is compromised. And that is why also Jaishankar said that, Jaishankar also mentioned that even USA imposing sanctions, the import of oil from Russia never halted, means we never stopped importing oil from Russia. So importing oil from Russia was kept continued despite Russian sanctions. Even we are now importing the Russian oil. That is the thing he mentioned. And also very importantly, there was another article which mentioned that we started to import LNG from Iran as well, right? So because we are facing some gas problem, cooking gas, CNG problem and LNG problem in the country, cooking gas. Because of that reason, not only India, some majority of the countries in the world are facing some energy security in terms of gas, petroleum products, all these things. Now USA eased sanctions on Iran to sell their oil products in the international market. Okay, let little bit go to the history now. So in 2000, what happened? There was a joint plan, joint comprehensive plan of action. Joint comprehensive plan of action. This was agreement reached, between USA, Iran, Russia, European Union plus Germany. These are the countries, came front and agreed that is the agreement called Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. This plan of action says that Iran should not produce nuclear warheads, means there should be no nuclear arms in Iran, and Iran should not produce nuclear warheads and also should not enrich the nuclear energy which is capable of producing nuclear bombs. We already know that nuclear enrichment of more than 90% is considered as a nuclear bomb material. Okay, so Iran should not conduct a nuclear enrichment which is useful for the making nuclear bombs. Okay, that was the agreement made in 2015. In 2015, what happened? Not in 2000, I think in 2019 or 18. In that one Trump won, I think 2018 or 19. I am not sure about the year. Please check it. Okay, in that year, what happened? Trump's government anonymously withdrawn from this joint comprehensive plan of action without any consensus, without any consulting other partners in the agreement. USA unilaterally withdrawn from this joint comprehensive plan of action and imposed sanctions on Iran. Imposed sanctions on Iran. Because of that reason, Iran's economy crippled. There was an economic crisis in Iran. So USA claimed that despite being a partner in the joint comprehensive plan of action, Iran is producing nuclear warheads. It's a conducting nuclear enrichment, uranium enrichment. So because of that reason, anonymously USA withdrawn from this particular agreement. Now imposed sanctions on Iran. So Iran now can't trade, can't sell its oil products in the international market because crude oil is one of the major source for Iran. So India was also one of the countries which imports large portion of its oil, crude oils from Iran. But obviously when USA imposed sanctions, India had to cut down its imports. We already discussed it many times. In what happened this, we actually narrowed it down to zero. So we completely stopped importing crude oil from Iran. That was happened. But recently due to oil shortage in the market, in international market, that also there is a seizure of Strait of Hormuz. Because of these reasons, USA eased sanctions on Iran. Because of that reason, we are now able to import our gas supplies and also even crude oil from Iran. These are the things discussed in the very important 3 articles mentioned. So I combined all those articles and discussed in the in these 2 important discussions. Okay, that is what you need to about your examination perspective. This is with respect to our our why you took neutral stand, or why you should be remain silent, and also why we import oil from Russia despite sanctions, and now why we are importing crude oil and gas from Iran. So these are the very important things you should know about, and also it shows our independent decision making and also strategic autonomy. Very important terminology is strategic autonomy. So that that is what you should be knowing for your examination perspective. And very importantly, and the other article which discusses about WTOs, and also okay, let's discuss the nationally determined contributions first, and after that we will discuss the WTO article. Okay, this is India updated its nationally determined contributions. Before discussing what are the updated objectives, discuss what is the history. Okay, now we are the party under United Nations Framework on Climate Change Conference. Okay, we are one of the parties. Okay, we signed this, and under this there is Conference of Parties takes place every year. Right, under this we we conducted many up to there are 34, I think 34 Conference of Parties. Under this very important Conference of Party is that Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement, which was held in 2015. So this Paris Agreement aims to restrict the global warming within 1.5 degree Celsius if possible. It also wants to restrict this particular global warming within the 2 degree Celsius above the industrial era. Above the industrial era means what was the temperature was present during the industrial revolution. Above that we can be only increased that particular temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius, or we can restrict that to 2 degrees Celsius. That is the aim, that is the objective which under which we concluded in Paris Agreement. That is you need to know about. And under this Paris Agreement, every country should take some measures to achieve this particular goal. What are those measures? That is called nationally determined contributions. So India also submitted its nationally determined contributions. So what are those? First is that India says that we will restrict our emission intensity to 33% to 35%. Energy intensity. Will reduce that energy intensity to 33% to 35%. And second is that 40% of our energy needs will be coming from non-fossil, means renewable energy sources. Means 40%. Let's say for example, if we are consuming 100%, in that 40% coming from renewable energy sources, and rest of the 60% is coming from the non-renewable sources. For example, fossil fuels, right? That. And also third one is that we will increase our carbon sink. How much? Carbon sink equivalent to 2.5 billion to 3 billion. So these are the very important nationally determined contributions objectives taken by the India when Paris Agreement was reached. Gradually we changed these nationally determined contributions. One very important thing is that these nationally determined contributions are not legally binding on any country. Not only in India, but on any country. These are not legally binding. Legally binding. These are not legally binding. Even if India fails to meet these objectives, it is okay. But in 2022, we updated our nationally determined contributions. We achieved the goal of Panchamrit. We came up with the goal called Panchamrit. Means in this Panchamrit goal, we identified 5 objectives. What are those 5 objectives? One is 500 gigawatt of energy is coming from non-fossil fuel based energy sources. One. Second is that 50% of our energy needs is again coming from renewable energy sources. Renewable energy sources. First it was 40% and we updated to that 50% of energy needs, or our energy needs are coming from renewable energy. And again we will achieve net zero. Our net zero by 2017. And very importantly, our energy emission which was 33% and 35%, now it is up to 45%. 45% of our energy emission intensity will be reduced of our GDP. Means if 1 unit of GDP is produced, so that the energy you are using producing that 1 unit of GDP will be reduced. That energy intensity. Okay, we are reducing that energy intensity by 45%. And fifth one and last one is that in Panchamrita, one is 500 gigawatt non-fossil fuel based, and is that 50% renewable energy, and 2017 net zero, and 45% reduction in energy intensity. And fifth one is that 1 billion tons of projected carbon emission will be reduced. Okay, let's say for example, I will explain the example. Let's say if we are projected to emit 2 billion carbon, 2 billion gigatons of carbon, so we are reducing that by 1 billion tons. So 1 billion ton reduction. So how much emission will be there? Only 1 billion tons. So these are the Panchamrit goal which are announced in 2022. Now under the objective of NDC, India updated its nationally determined contributions. So now is that it was 45% energy intensity. Now India upgraded it to 47%. So there will be a reduction in the energy intensity by 47% by 2035. And secondly, we are sourcing our energy needs. We are sourcing our energy need from renewable energy. Approximately 60% of our energy needs. So it was 40%, it became 50%, and now it became 60%. And in terms of carbon sink, in terms of carbon sink, which was 2.5 billion tons approximately, right? It was equivalent to 2.5 billion tons to 3 billion tons. Now it is upgraded to 3.5 billion tons to 4 billion tons. These are the new, means upgraded nationally determined contributions. All these are, objectives are going to be achieved by 2035. 2035. Okay, this is very simple article. Okay, hope you got understood everything. Okay, next, okay, let's discuss very important article in today's newspaper with respect to WTO's Ministerial Conference of 14th Ministerial Conference, right? So before discussing why this particular Ministerial Conference 14 is taking place, okay, we will discuss all those things later. First discuss the composition of, the structure of WTO. Okay, na? The WTO, origin in 1995. It was established in 1995. So it consists of Ministerial Conference, that 14th Ministerial Conference. This is the highest decision making body in WTO. Okay, na? It takes very important decisions with respect to trade and services, and also with respect to intellectual property rights. And after that, there is a General Council. General Council. This General Council is, will take care of day-to-day businesses of the WTO. And very importantly, this particular General Council performs two important functions. It acts as a dispute settlement body, and also it acts as a policy review committee. Policy review committee means whatever the policies are taken by the WTO, it will review them and it will take stance on that particular issues, and it will review and give opinion on this policy inputs. Okay, and after that, very importantly, it acts as a dispute settlement body. Okay, dispute settlement body. What does that mean? So in this particular WTO, why it was established means there should be agreements with respect to trade, how trade should be happening in international market. So all these decisions will be taken by WTO, and all the members will come and discuss and will take a decision, and every WTO member should be obeying their decision, because the decisions under WTO are made on consensus. Every single country will be having one veto. Means every single country should be agreed to the decision taken by the WTO. Then that is called consensus based agreement. Then every country, that means every member of WTO should be following that decision taken by the WTO. If any country is violating the decisions, other member countries will appeal the WTO. Then that appeal come to dispute settlement body. This dispute settlement body is nothing but General Council. General Council will act as a dispute settlement body. So whenever the disputes will come to dispute settlement body, you will establish a panel. One panel will be there. So both the countries will discuss. If there mediations will be there. If they agreed on their own, the case will be solved and there will be no dispute settlement body. If countries are not agreed on their own, and if they go to dispute settlement body, and this dispute settlement body will review what country is making what mistakes, and it will publish a what is called judgment. Okay, na? It will publish its judgment. It will give its judgment. If any country is unsatisfied with a particular judgment, they will appeal this particular judgment to the appellate body. Appellate body. And this particular appellate body consisting of 7 judges, not 1 judges or 2 judges, consisting of 7 judges. Now what happened? The judges to this particular appellate body will be appointed only after the consensus. Means every member country should be agreeing to the appointment. But in 2016, what happened? USA is against the appointment of the judges, because USA seems that WTO is not serving USA's needs. Because of that, the appellate body, appellate tribunal within the WTO become defunct. Because why? After 2016, no fresh appointments are made to the appellate body. Since there is no appellate body, even if you are appealing against any other country, even if you dispute settlement body is giving its judgment, and other country will simply go to the appellate body, and appellate body is defunct, and there will be no justice. Right? Because of that reason, USA is imposing tariffs on all the countries, because the tariffs are banned under WTO. We will discuss that agreement also. Okay, na? These are the important things you should know about the structure of the WTO. And there are also, with respect to structure, there are also different councils. For example, council on goods trade, council on trades in goods, council for trade in services, council for TRIPS, trade related intellectual property rights. These are 3 councils. But very importantly, you should know about this general council, appellate body, and dispute settlement body. But now issue is that why ministerial conference of 14 taking place? Why? What was the reason? Reason is that USA is imposing tariffs, unilaterally imposing tariffs on people, not people, on other countries, and war is taking place between USA and Iran. It's making the crude prices costlier in the international market. All these things are happening. Because of that reason, Ministerial Conference 14 is taking place. But what are the issues exist? What are the issues exist in front of Ministerial Conference of 14? Okay, very importantly, after, in the last 3 decades, very importantly, in the last 3 decades, only WTO achieved very 2 important agreements. One is trade facilitation agreement, and second is that fisheries subsidies. Fisheries agreement on fisheries subsidies. This trade facilitation agreement ensures that there will be no unilateral tariffs on country, unilateral tariffs, because it ensures one of the major objectives of this particular trade facilitation to ensure there is a equal trade, and also there will be a lesser constraints in international trade with respect to customs, with respect to non trade barriers. All these things are governed under trade facilitation agreement. Now USA is importing unilateral tariffs on other countries. It is imposing sanctions on countries. That is why this agreement is not serving its purpose. And also second agreement is that fisheries subsidies. This fisheries subsidy deals with the idea of illegal and unregulated fisheries. unregulated fishing, and also higher fishing subsidies by the countries. But India is objecting that this fishing subsidy should be cancelled because there should be a differential treatment for the developing and least developed countries. Differential treatment should be exist for least development countries and developing countries. Okay, these are the very two important concepts, and very importantly the issues, what are the challenges exist in front of Ministerial Conference of 14. Very importantly, there are two ideas in WTO. One is plurilateral, another one is multilateral. So plurilateral is nothing but group of countries within WTO are agreeing to certain objectives, to making they will arrange themselves certain modifications within WTO, and they want to include those ideas in the Annexure 4. Annexure 4, which ensures that there will be an agreement of all countries. Whenever there will be consensus is nothing but we already discussed. All the members, all the parties of WTO are agreeing to that. If these plurilateral agreements are signed by only group of members, not all group of members of WTO, not all members. Let's say for example 120 members, 130 members, like that, not all 166 members. Okay, if these plurilateral agreements are agreed, then these agreements will be included under the Annexure 4. There are two important plurilateral agreements. One is investment facilitation for development. This was the agreement proposed by China. So WTO deals with the trade, not investments. Investments are regulated by different bodies. For example, WTO, World Bank. Right. So WTO is not a body which deals with the investments. Now China is proposing investment facilitation for development. There should be agreement in terms of investment. There will be reduced barriers for investment in different countries. That is the idea of this is the idea proposed by China. And secondly, agreement on electronics and commerce. Agreement on electronic commerce. This is with respect to movement of digital goods, not only electronic goods, hardwares, but also in terms of, for example, e-signatures, data localization, data storage, all these things covered under this particular agreement on electronic and commerce. So India is in a position where India is arguing for localization of data, means our Indian data, electronic data should be stored in India only, not outside. Let's say for example Meta is there, Facebook, Instagram, all the kind of companies are multinational companies. These are American based countries who are operating in India and collecting data. Let's say you open your profile in Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, all these things. These companies will collect your data, and these data will be stored in international service, where in USA, not in India. But India somehow managed to come up with the act, Digital Data Act, right? So India is arguing for a localization of data, but this particular agreement argues for freedom in terms of data storage. So India is against this particular agreement. This agreement is also proposed by China, proposed by USA, all the Western countries. But India is against this. So these are the things which are going to be decided in the Ministerial Conference of 14. This is one argument. There are multilateral agreements. Let's say, for example, appointment of judges to appellate body, right? Reducing the burden on developing and least developed countries in terms of subsidies. Means developing and least developed countries should be permitted to give more subsidies to its farmers and fishing communities. Developing and least developed countries should not be treated equally with the developed countries. These are the multilateral agreements which are other countries. Let's say, for example, South Africa, India and argue for. India and South Africa are arguing that there should be appointment to judges to the appellate body and there should be permission for developing and least developed countries to lend more subsidies to the farming communities and fishing communities. Okay, you understood that are the issues which should be discussed in MC14 and which are going to be discussed in the Ministerial Conference of 14. When very important, there is there is other issue which is going to be discussed in the Ministerial Conference of 14. What is that? E-commerce moratorium. Means, as we discussed earlier, there will be a trade in digital goods, right? So least developed countries and developing countries like India are imposing tax on these digital goods. Let's say, for example, we impose, we will levy, Google tax. Let's say, for example, we import levy on digital services. Just recently we just can remove that particular digital service tax which was imposed on multinational companies. So we want to impose such taxes and also impose more customs on digital goods which are coming from developed countries. But this particular e-commerce moratorium, which agreed in the 1990s, when 1996 or 95, I think, I don't know the exact year, when WTO was established. At that time, developed countries pushed this particular agreement, and they they achieved this e-commerce moratorium. Means there will be no tariffs and there will be no customs on digital goods. And also, very importantly, this particular agreement will be revised every 2 years, and this is going to be expired in 2026. And India is happy with that. India is arguing that this should be struck down and this should be cancelled, this should be removed, because we want to impose more taxes on the digital products, on the e-commerce services. That is what India is arguing for. But developed countries want that this particular e-commerce moratorium should be completely made permanent and it should not be removed. That is these are the issues where in which in a ministerial conference of 14 will be discussed. Okay, hope you understood all the issues involved in here. Okay, and next we will discuss about the transgender persons Protection of Rights Act. Recently, government amended this particular act, which was enacted in 2019. So this central government amended this particular act and also passed bill both in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Even despite opposition argued it should not be passed. Okay, that is the issue. And what are the provisions under Transgender Persons Protection of Rights Act we will discuss, and also what are the proposed amendments. Okay, we will discuss both here. Okay, first we will discuss 2019 Amendment Act, and we will discuss after what are the proposed amendments. Okay, the first one is that it's defined who are the transgender persons. It simply says that transgender persons are whose identity is changed from the natural birth. Means, let's say for example, when a particular person who was male when he was born, but he is changed now. He changed his identity to different. For example, let's say queers, gay, hijra, all those things. Right? He changed his identity. So that is called transgender. And very importantly, it emphasized that there should be a self-perceived identity. Self-perceived identity. And based on that, there should be certification. Means, let's say for example, if I am feeling that I should be male, okay, right, I go to district magistrate, and this district magistrate will give a certificate for me so that I am a male. If someone goes that, so even if he is a male, he will say that I am a female, I am a hijra. So based on that this particular district magistrate will issue a certificate of identity. He will issue a certificate of identity without intervention of any medical board. There will be no medical board, and without medical board, if I am saying that I am a woman, I am a I am hijra, I am something that, okay, this particular district magistrate should be giving certificate of identity to any transgender person. Okay, and if there should be no discrimination, based on identity. If you are discriminating against any transgender person, there will be a punishment. What is the punishment? Up to 6 months to 2 years. Up to 6 months to 2 years, there will be a punishment. And also, there should be a body called National Transgender Council at the central level. National Transgender Persons Council at the national level. This should be established, and it will be advising the central government with respect to policy making on transgender persons. Okay, these are the very important provisions which were included in 2019. Now central government amended this particular act and changed some provisions in all these things. One is that now it defined transgender persons. It says it includes very few members. One is that it includes hijra, aravani and jogta. And also it includes intersex variations. These two groups will be called as transgenders. But it exclusively removed very important clause that is called self-perceived identity. Means self-perceived identity is no longer a identity of transgender. If I am saying that I am a woman, just show your evidence. For that evidence, now there should be a medical board. This medical board will observe you will conduct some tests. After that, this medical board will advise the district magistrate to give certificate of identity. Earlier, someone can get a certificate of identity without any hurdle. Now, particular medical board should be examining any particular individual who claims to be a transgender, and then it will advise the district magistrate to give certificate of identity. Right? That is. And thirdly, and very importantly, first there will be surgeries from from transiting one gender to other, surgeries. Now this any particular hospital which conducting these surgeries, transgender surgeries, should be informing a district magistrate. So and so person is conducted transgender surgery, and based on that evidence and based on that data, district magistrate is now able to provide certificate of identity. And very importantly, fourthly, anyone should not be forced to be a transgender. Let's say, for example, any child is there. Someone should not force that particular child to be transgender. That is goes against the Transgender Person Act of 2019. If this particular act amended and gave, received President's assent. That is what? Okay, na? There should be no forced identity. Forced identity is a crime. Forced identity is a crime now. Okay, we hope you got that. And very importantly, this transgender person should not be kidnapped, should not be used for begging, should not be used for beggar, forced labor. If you are doing that, there will be a punishment. What kind of 10 years of punishment? 10 years of punishment will be there. If you are forcing to someone to be a transgender, forced identity, there is also punishment there, approximately 6 years to 8 years of punishment. These are the things which these are the changes which are being made in the Transgender Persons Act of 2019. Okay, na? Oppositions and also some other members are opposing these changes because it it violates the very important aspect, that is self-pursued identity. It will bodily autonomy, and we call it bodily autonomy. It will violate the idea of bodily autonomy. Someone should not be dictating, someone should not be determining someone's gender. A person should be determining his own gender because he is the owner of that body and he owns that identity, self-pursued identity. Okay, and very importantly, some of the scholars are also highlighting that in a NALSA judgment, in 2014, Supreme Court had said that self-pursued identity is a fundamental right. Self-pursued identity is a fundamental right under Article 21. Under Article 21. If self-pursued identity is a fundamental right under Article 21, it should not be taken away, which goes against the personal liberty. Okay, these are the things which are discussed under the particular article, and these are the changes you should be knowing. What were the earlier act? What was the earlier act? For example, self-pursued identity, and there was a certificate of identity, and there should not be discrimination against transgenders, and there should be a national transgender persons council at the central level, and new changes which exclusively excluded the self-pursued identity, and very important, persons are now included under the transgender definition. What is that? Hijra, Aravani and Jogta, and intersex variations. And there should be medical board which examining the particular individual and suggesting district magistrate to issue a certificate of identity. And in the hospital which are conducting surgeries, transgender surgery, should be also informing district magistrate, and there should be no forced identity, and there should be no kidnapping and using transgender for forced labor, all those things. Okay, these are all the things which you need to know about UPSC examination. Okay, thank you.